Welcome to training for the 2017 Indiana Trail Study. My name is Lane Elliott. I'm a project manager with the Epley Institute for Parks and Public Lands at Indiana University and the project manager for the Trail Study. Let me start by saying thank you to all of our trail partner organizations and volunteers for participating in this study. We absolutely could not do this without you, and we want you to know how much we really appreciate your participation and all that you're doing and will be doing over the next few months to help with trails research and healthy living in your communities and in the state of Indiana. A little background on this study. In 2001, the Epley Institute conducted the first Indiana Trail Study that collected data at 6 different trail locations around the state by surveying users and adjacent property owners. Since then, the number of trails has more than doubled and probably almost tripled in the state of Indiana, mileage-wise. So we saw the need after more than 15 years to refresh and update this study, and we've expanded it to 9 trails, and we're adding in some important health factors. We're going to try and measure how health is impacted by use of trails in the state of Indiana as well. The study will collect and analyze statistically valid data that will inform trail development, operations, and maintenance efforts. And that's a formal way of saying that we're going to try and measure the positive impact of trails by looking at trail usage, how much and how often people are using trails, health factors related to trail use, and also collect some data on economic factors, how the trails are impacting communities economically. We have 3 phases to our data collection. The first 2 actually are we're working with the trail partner organizations, and we'll be working with them to collect this data. The first is trail counters. We're going to measure how many people are using the trail and how often. Then we're also going to survey adjacent property owners or property owners that within 150 feet of the trail and ask them questions about their perceptions of safety and crime, their perceptions of the impact of the trail on their property values. If it's a business, we're going to ask about their perceived impact on their business operations and things like that. And then last but not least, what we need and really appreciate the volunteers for is our surveys of trail users and non-trail users alike. And the non-trail user survey is a new factor a new addition to this study that relates to the health factor data collection. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go along. We'll have 4 one-week survey periods. The first one coming up very soon here, starting April 10th, and then the weeks of June 5th, August 7th, and October 2nd. And for the volunteers and any other staff members who are helping us with the survey, your job is very simple. We want you to engage people that pass by the location that you're stationed at on the trail, which will either be a trailhead or an off-trail location if you're surveying the non-user group. And you'll ask them to participate in the study by taking a survey. And if they say yes, then you'll give them an invitation card that tells them exactly what to do. We're going to be working in 2-hour shifts at varying days and times, and we want to cover morning, noon, early afternoon, evening times. We aren't tracking the times, so we're going to have a lot of flexibility to work with your schedule and make sure that we can get you out there on the trail or at those non-trail locations when it's convenient for you, as long as we are covering throughout the week all the different time periods of the day that people are using your trails. So the participating trails in the 2017 study are the Erie-Lackawanna Trail in Lake County, the Pumpkin Vine Nature Trail in Elkhart and LaGrange counties, the Fort Wayne River Greenway, the Nickel Plate Trail between Rochester and Kokomo, the Cardinal Greenway between Muncie and Richmond, 2 segments of the Monon Trail, one in Carmel and one in closer to downtown Indianapolis, the Beeline Trail in Bloomington, the Columbus People Trail, and the Pigeon Creek Greenway Passage in Evansville. When you're out there doing the survey engagement, here's basically what we want you to do. We want you to ask each adult person you see to participate as they're entering or leaving the trail. We don't want you to stop anybody that's biking or jogging or running. because first of all, we don't want to interrupt them as they're doing their activity. We also want to make sure that everybody's safe. We don't want anybody to accidentally run into you. So we just want to catch people as they're entering or leaving the trail. And we only want adults that are 18 years and older. And you do not have to worry about asking people whether they're 18 or older. There's going to be a question on the survey that verifies that. So make your best guess. If someone looks to be 18 years or older, go ahead and ask them to be in the survey, and we'll verify that again with them later on. So for your engagement with them, first you're going to introduce yourself as a volunteer for the trail study. Tell them briefly what the research is about and why you're asking them to participate. And we will have a short script review a little bit later on so you know how that engagement is supposed to go. And then you'll ask them if they're willing to participate by taking a short survey that'll take no more than 10 to 15 minutes of their time. And then you'll give them an invitation card that have the instructions and the website address on there so they can go and take that survey. You're not going to be asking them any survey questions or collecting any kind of data yourselves. You're just going to ask them to participate. Now, if someone would rather not take the online survey and they want to take a paper survey instead, they can do that. There'll be a phone number on that invitation card to call so that they can request a paper survey, and we'll send them that survey with a postage paid envelope so it doesn't cost them anything to return the survey. The survey card is going to look like this. The very first slide had the front of the card. Let me move myself out of the way so you can see the whole thing. The back side of the card looks like this. It's going to have instructions and information about the study. And in the middle here, it's got the web address. They're going to just type that very short address right into their browser, and we'll take them directly to the survey so they can take that. And the line right below that has the phone number that they can call if they would like a paper survey to be mailed to them. And right below that is our confidentiality statement. We want everyone to know that their participation is completely voluntary and all their responses are going to be kept confidential. Any information that we collect is only going to be used for tracking purposes and will not be tied to their answers on the survey or to any reports that we end up writing about the data. We want to make sure people know that. At our off-trail locations, I mentioned this. Sorry, let me move again. We're only going to be surveying people who do not use the trail. And the reason we're doing this is because that we're collecting information about health, we need a control group. And if you're not familiar with research, a control group is our baseline group. We want to take a before and after picture and can be able to compare the two. So we're hypothesizing that people who use trails will have positive impacts on their health and well-being. So we're going to survey people who don't use the trail and people who do use the trail, and then compare the two to find out to what degree using the trail impacts their health. So at those non-trail locations, which will be a grocery store or something like that, some other site off of the trail where people, everyone in the community will go, we're first going to ask the person if they use the trails in your community. If they say yes, we do, then you'll say thank you. We're going to survey people who are using the trails at another location. And if they say no, then you can go ahead and proceed with the invitation. Anyone who completes this non-user survey will receive a $5 gift card to thank them for their participation. And the reason that we are offering the gift card to people who are not using the trails is because we did a little bit of research into incentives for surveys, and we found that people who are engaged and active in a particular activity are likely to take a survey whether there's an incentive or not. But people who are not engaged are much less likely to take a survey, and they will be more likely to take it if we give them some kind of incentive. So we're giving them a little $5 gift card just to say thanks for participating in the survey and completing it. And the non-trail survey card, the back of it's going to look like this. It's just a little bit different. That survey will only take 5 to 10 minutes. So we want to make sure and tell them that. The web address is slightly different because there are two different surveys, one for the users and one for the non-users. And then right below that, we've got our line telling them that we're giving each person who completes the survey a $5 gift card. And then below that is the phone number to call if they'd rather have the paper survey. And then again, our confidentiality disclosure after that. A sample script: if you're stationed on a trail, as somebody's entering or leaving the trail, we simply say, hello, we're conducting a survey for the Indiana Trail Study that'll help us understand how trails impact communities in Indiana. Are you willing to provide feedback by taking a 15-minute online survey? If they say no, I don't want to participate, you just say thank you and have a good day. If they say yes, give them an invitation card and say, this survey is online, so please follow the web address to access the survey. If you prefer to complete the survey on paper, that's fine. There are instructions on the card for how to do that. If you're at a non-trail location, the script is very similar, just a couple of differences. You say, hello, we're conducting a survey for the Indiana Trail Study that will help us understand how trails impact communities in Indiana. Do you use the trails here in your community? If they say, yes, we do, you say, thank you. We're only surveying people who do not use trails at this location. If they say, no, we don't use the trails, then ask them, would you be willing to take a 5 to 10 minute online survey? If you complete the survey, you will receive a $5 Amazon gift card. If they say, no, I don't want to take the survey, just say, thank you, have a great day. If they say yes, you'll give them the invitation card and remind them the survey is online and please follow the web address to access the survey. If you prefer to complete the survey on paper, there are instructions on the card for how to do that. If at this point you get a question from someone who says, well, I use the trails and this is a trail survey, why aren't you asking me to complete the survey now? It's very simple. You say, we do want your participation, but we are surveying people who use trails on the trails. So, and the difference is we don't want people who are using trails to participate in this non-trail group because that might skew our data. So we definitely want those people to take the survey. We just want them to take the right survey. The surveys are slightly different. And so we want to get them into the right one so that they have an accurate picture of what's happening. Some safety tips, because we want everyone to feel safe and comfortable. First of all, don't try to force anyone to participate. If anyone you engage says no, just thank them and tell them to have a good day. We don't need to talk anyone into it or get into any other kind of conversations or potential confrontations about that. We only want people who are going to be willing to participate. The next thing, as I mentioned before, don't stop bikers or runners. We want everyone to be safe. We don't want you to accidentally get run into, and we don't want to interrupt those bikers either. We don't want them to get injured thinking that they may have to swerve to miss you. All volunteers will be given a vest that clearly identifies you as a member of the trail study team. It's bright yellow, it's got reflective stripes on it. And also all volunteer stations will have a sign indicating that the location is a trail study location. And those are bright yellow, the signs and the vests. We want you to be highly visible, first of all, for safety reasons. Second of all, so anybody that you engage has a clear picture of what it is you're doing while you're there. So that they don't get the wrong idea and think you're trying to sell them something or otherwise engage them in some way that they is not welcome. And lastly, if at any point you feel unsafe at your location, go ahead and leave and call the police if you need to. If anything is happening on the trail or happening around you that makes you uncomfortable, go ahead and leave. We don't want anybody to feel unsafe. And then if you could let your trail organization know as soon as possible. And if we have multiple incidents at the same location, we may have to revisit and make adjustments to our schedule and potentially our survey locations. The vests, just so you have a picture of them, are going to look like this. This is our mock-up graphic file that we sent to the printer. The bright yellow, the gray stripes are reflective on the front and back, and it says Indiana Trail Study in large black letters on the back. The signs are going to look pretty similar. They're also bright yellow, and they say Trail Study in Progress, and they have the IU logo, so everyone knows what's happening and who's conducting the survey. Again, these things are going to be available to you for safety and for identification. And this sign is also a mock-up. The whole thing is going to be bright yellow when it's finished, when it's back from the printers. your equipment. As far as the survey cards, the vests and the signs, we'll let the trails managers, the trails organizations, and you volunteers work together to find out figure out the best way to pick up and return your survey cards and your equipment. But we will give you all a supply of the signs and the vests. There will be one sign for each survey location to stick in the ground. You can just leave it there until the week is over. We don't want you to have to pick those up and return them or move them around. And we're also going to give each trail location a half a dozen or so vests to give out to your volunteers, because we don't want the volunteers to feel under pressure to immediately return those items to an office or central location for the next shift. We know that everybody's busy. In some of our trail locations, there's going to be quite a long distance between the trailhead and the office. So we really want you to have the leeway to hang on to those items for a day or two before you have to get them returned. At each non-trail location, we would also appreciate if you could check with them and see if they could store the signs and possibly the vests and the survey cards overnight at that location, so you don't have to take them with you or take them back to the office to store them overnight and then go get them again the next day. So if they could put them in an office or behind the counter, then we would really appreciate that. And as far as the equipment goes, once the study week is over, trails organizations, if you have a place to store those items until the next data collection week, that would be great. If you don't, then please let me know. I can come pick those up from you and then bring them back to you before the next survey week. And lastly, if you have any questions, volunteers, please contact your managing organizations, the people who recruited you to participate. And if they don't know the answer, and they can contact me and I can give them an answer. And Trails Partners, the same thing. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. You should have my phone number and my email. And don't hesitate to ask me. We want everyone to feel completely comfortable and confident about their participation in the study. And lastly, but certainly not least, thank you, all of you, for your participation in this trail study. Again, we could not do this without you, and we want you to know how much we appreciate you.